imagine standing on the edge of fame, loved by millions, with a bright future ahead. But then, in an instant, everything changes. How does a talented 23-year-old rapper and social media star, known as Petty Levels, vanish under mysterious circumstances? This is the story of Mia Bennett, a vibrant young woman whose freestyle rap videos and adventurous personality made her a sensation online. On July 19, 2024, her life came to a tragic end, leaving behind a trail of questions. Who was Mia Bennett? How did she rise to fame so quickly? And what led to her untimely death in Tampa, Florida? Was it a tragic accident? Or is there more to this story that remains hidden? Join us as we explore the life of Mia Bennett and attempt to uncover the mystery that has left her fans and loved ones in shock. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happened to Mia? Did her music hint at struggles she faced? Please support our channel by subscribing to stay updated on the latest true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next intriguing tale. Philadelphia, a city rich in history and resilience. Amid its busy streets, one young woman stood out, not just for her origins, but for her determination to succeed. Mia Bennett, or Petty Levels as her fans called her, was not an ordinary teenager. Born and raised in Philadelphia, Mia began her journey in a modest environment. Even as a child, it was clear she was meant for something special. While her friends dreamed of conventional careers, Mia had bigger aspirations. She wanted her voice to be heard. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, she faced challenges that shaped her into the artist she would later become. By her teenage years, Mia had developed a talent for writing. She would spend hours in her room, jotting down rhymes and practicing freestyle raps inspired by the music she loved.
Sitting here looking back like I must be tripping. Where the hell did we go wrong? Why I feel so different? Another apology, but I don't see a difference. He ain't scared to lose me, so I'ma keep it pushing. Are we forcing this to work or is it meant to be? God, I know I'm hard-headed, but if he ain't the one, tell me I can't take another heartbreak. Please tell me for my heart's sake. I can't say what I gotta say, cause when I try my mind go blank. How do you leave someone that makes you smile every day? How am I supposed to just drop everything and walk away? How can I stay with the person bringing me so much pain? Every time I try to go, something tells me just stay. I don't know what happened, and I don't know what changed. I don't know if I'm still happy, I don't know who's to blame. Main question on my mind, and it's been there for days. Did you change or did you never feel the same?
For Mia, rap was more than a hobby. It was a way to express herself and make sense of the world around her. Rap became her identity. At just 16, she started recording videos on her phone, showcasing her rapping skills with a confidence that surprised everyone. These videos were raw and unpolished, but they captured the authenticity that audiences craved. After finishing high school, Mia embraced social media as a platform to reach a larger audience. Her clever lyrics and genuine style quickly set her apart. Within months, her videos began to gain thousands, then millions of views. It wasn't just her talent that attracted people. It was her willingness to share both her successes and her struggles. Fans connected with her on a personal level, feeling as though they truly knew her. For Mia, every new follower represented a connection, a chance to inspire. However, with fame came challenges. She was no longer just a girl from Philadelphia. She was becoming a brand that needed to grow. In 2018, she took a significant step into the music industry, releasing her tracks on platforms like SoundCloud. Songs like Malibu and Ain't It showcased her ability to turn personal experiences into catchy anthems. Her growing success caught the attention of well-known artists, leading to collaborations with stars like Latto. But with this success came pressure. As her fame rose, so did the expectations placed on her. Behind the confident image, were there challenges that even her closest friends could not see? What drives a young star to share her life so openly? What sacrifices does she make to reach such heights? As we reflect on her journey, we encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. What motivated Mia's relentless energy? Mia Bennett was not just a rapper or a social media influencer. She was a storyteller. Her exciting life connected her to over 1 million followers, From the beaches of Jamaica to the skies above Puerto Rico, Mia transformed her experiences into compelling narratives. But was there more to this fearless persona than met the eye? Skydiving was not just a thrill for Mia, it symbolized living life to the fullest. After her first jump, she posted, "Live like there's no tomorrow," but was she searching for something deeper? Her adventures, surfing, ziplining, and exploring, were not just for excitement. They became part of her story shared with her audience. What truly set Mia apart was her ability to include her fans in her life. Her travel vlogs were not just glamorous, they were genuine, filled with laughter and vulnerability. She was open about her fears and challenges, which helped her build a loyal following. However, as her popularity grew, so did the pressure. Was Mia truly living her dream, or was she trying to escape from something? How did her adventurous spirit connect to the tragedy that ultimately ended her life? We want to hear your thoughts. What do you think drove her to seek excitement? What really happened to Mia Bennett on that fateful day in July 2024? On July 19, 2024, she was found dead in Tampa, Florida. Police received a report about a deceased individual near the airport around 1:30 p.m. The authorities initially stated there were no signs of foul play, but many questions remained. Why was Mia in Tampa, far from her Philadelphia roots? Who had seen her last? As news spread, speculation erupted. Some claimed she was a victim of foul play, while others suggested it was an accident. Mia's family, grieving and shocked, requested privacy and respect during this difficult time. They emphasized that they were still waiting for answers. Online, speculation only intensified. Fans scrutinized her last Instagram post, made just 2 days before her death, which showed her enjoying a sunny day with a vague caption about gratitude. Was this a farewell in disguise, or simply a reflection of her outlook on life? Mia's death sent shockwaves through the music and social media communities. Fellow artists and fans flooded her platforms with tributes, remembering her vibrant energy and creative spirit. Yet, the mystery surrounding her passing overshadowed these celebrations. How could someone so full of life vanish so suddenly? In the weeks that followed, law enforcement maintained silence, leaving fans with more questions than answers. Online communities rallied for transparency, seeking justice for a beloved artist whose legacy was now intertwined with intrigue and sorrow. Was Mia's death merely a tragic accident? Or was there an untold story lurking beneath the surface? As we reflect on Mia's life, we invite you to share your opinions. What do you believe happened to her? Did she leave behind clues that can help us understand her struggles? Mia's life captivated millions through her social media, but in death, those same platforms became a place for grief, speculation, and a search for answers. Did social media help keep her legacy alive, or did it complicate the truth? Her freestyle rap videos were filled with raw emotion and honesty, gaining her a massive following. But it wasn't just her talent that resonated. It was her relatability. Fans admired her openness, whether she was sharing her creative process or exciting moments from her life. Social media allowed Mia to connect personally with her audience. As news of her untimely death broke, the outpouring of sorrow was immediate. Twitter and Instagram filled with messages honoring her life, as fans and fellow artists expressed their grief. Viral video compilations celebrating her performances and joyful moments spread quickly, gaining millions of views. One fan wrote, "Mia showed me it's okay to chase my dreams without fear. She inspired me every day, and now she's gone. It feels unreal." Another lamented, "We lost a legend too soon." However, social media also became a hotbed for rumors. Unverified claims about her death circulated rapidly, leading to conspiracy theories. Anonymous accounts speculated about her final moments, jumping to conclusions without evidence. This spread of misinformation frustrated those who knew her. A family friend stated, "Mia's family is grieving, and they don't need baseless gossip clouding the truth." Despite the chaos, Mia's digital presence remains a significant part of her story. Her videos continue to inspire, and her music resonates with fans. Social media has ensured her voice will never be silenced, but it has also complicated the narrative around her death. As the world mourns such a vibrant life lost too soon, social media reminded us of its dual nature. It connects us, amplifies voices, and preserves memories, while allowing for speculation that blurs the line between fact and fiction. As we continue this journey, we will explore the most pressing question of all: will the truth about Mia's death ever be revealed, or will it remain an unresolved mystery? How does a life taken too soon create such a deep impact that it continues to inspire even in absence? For Mia Bennett, her legacy carries on through her music, her fans, and the stories she shared. Mia's path as a rapper was more than just a career, it was a movement. Her lyrics often reflected her struggles, dreams, and the strength she built along the way. Songs like Unapologetically Me became anthems for those seeking empowerment, while tracks like Through the Storm resonated with fans facing their own battles. A producer who collaborated with Mia shared, she had a unique way of turning her pain into poetry. She wasn't just rapping, she was telling stories from her heart. Video clips of her performing on stage showcase her remarkable talent and energy. Mia's openness about her challenges, paired with her determination to succeed, encouraged many to chase their own dreams. In a heartfelt tribute, a fan said, "Mia was more than an artist, she was a mentor and a role model. I started writing music because of her. Whenever I felt like giving up, I would watch her videos and remember why I began." Social media is filled with tributes, artwork, and covers of her songs as fans continue to celebrate her life and legacy. Friends who knew Mia personally remember her as genuine and kind. A longtime friend described her as a powerful force who wanted to uplift everyone around her. Her manager reflected on Mia's journey, saying she was just beginning. She was on the verge of something incredible, and her potential was limitless. These accounts paint a picture of someone who made a lasting impact, not just in the music industry, but in the hearts of those who encountered her. Even after her passing, Mia's social media accounts remain active memorials. Fans revisit old posts, share their favorite memories, and keep her spirit alive online. Her YouTube channel, filled with behind-the-scenes footage and performances, continues to attract viewers, ensuring that new audiences can discover her talent. Mia Bennett may no longer be with us, but her voice, passion, and spirit continue to shine brightly. She taught us to follow our dreams, face life with courage, and leave the world a better place. Mia Bennett was more than just a rising star. She was a symbol of authenticity in a world often filled with curated images. Her voice resonated with millions, her humor brought joy, and her adventurous spirit encouraged fans to step outside their comfort zones. But beneath the bright life she shared, deeper struggles often went unnoticed. Her story reminds us of the fragility of success, the pressures of fame, and the importance of looking beyond the surface. Even with everything we know, questions linger. What truly happened to Mia Bennett on that fateful day in July? Was her death a result of personal struggles, or were there other factors at play? The lack of clear answers has only heightened the mystery. Authorities have kept quiet, leaving room for speculation. Mia's family has requested privacy, but the absence of information has led to a whirlwind of theories online. As time passes, we wonder, what will be the lasting impact of these unanswered questions on Mia's legacy? As we move forward, could Mia's final days hold the answers everyone is searching for? The truth might be closer than we think, but will it ever be revealed? In life, Mia Bennett captivated millions through her social media. In death, those same platforms became a space filled with heartfelt tributes, wild speculations, and an unwavering search for answers. The question remains, did social media amplify her legacy, or did it cloud the truth? Mia built her brand from the ground up, using platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Her freestyle rap videos, filled with authenticity, gained her a large following. Yet it wasn't just her talent that attracted people, it was her ability to connect with them. Fans admired her openness, whether she was sharing snippets of her creative process or exciting moments from her life. Social media allowed Mia to connect personally with her audience, making her feel like a friend. As we reflect on Mia's life, we invite you to share your thoughts. How can we remember and honor her legacy? What lessons can we take from her story? Mia Bennett's life and legacy continue to inspire, reminding us of the importance of authenticity, connection, and understanding. If you're intrigued by this case and want to dive deeper into stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It helps you stay updated whenever we release a new true crime tale. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up to let us know you want more chilling mysteries like this. Your support helps us continue bringing you the stories that need to be told.
On a quiet New Year's Day in 2014, a seemingly ordinary gathering of local rappers in Columbus, Georgia, would descend into a nightmare of unimaginable cruelty. What began as a friendly freestyle rap battle would spiral into a confrontation that would shock the nation and leave seasoned investigators questioning the very depths of human depravity. The central figure in this harrowing tale is Brielle Saunders, a young woman whose talent and confidence on the mic would unwittingly ignite a spark of rage in three men: Robert Johnson, Katori Glover, and Joey Garin. These three individuals, each carrying their own troubled histories, would converge that fateful night, their shared need for dominance and recognition colliding in the most horrific of ways. As we delve into the details of this case, we must brace ourselves for the uncomfortable truths that lie within. How does a contest of words and skill devolve into an act of such unimaginable violence? And how does a survivor, outnumbered and overpowered, defy all odds and live to tell the tale? This is a story that will challenge our understanding of the human condition, forcing us to confront the depths of cruelty and the remarkable resilience of the human spirit. Join us as we unravel this harrowing true crime narrative, exploring the egos and entitlement that fueled the attack, the courage of a survivor who refused to be silenced, and the pursuit of justice that would demand accountability. It is a story that is not easy to hear, but one that we must all understand, for it holds the power to shed light on the very questions we can no longer ignore. Welcome to True Crime Tales HQ, our esteemed viewers. Before we dive deeper into this tragic and haunting case, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue to bring these stories to light. Now, let's get back to the story. From the moment she could first hold a microphone, Brielle Saunders' life had been intertwined with the rhythmic power of words and music. Growing up in the vibrant city of Columbus, Georgia, Brielle's earliest memories were filled with the soulful melodies of her father, a gifted gospel musician who instilled in her an unwavering appreciation for the transformative nature of artistic expression. As Brielle blossomed from a precocious child into a confident young woman, her passion for music only continued to grow, eventually leading her to the captivating world of freestyle rap battles. In this predominantly male-dominated sphere, Brielle's talent and unshakable self-assurance quickly set her apart from the crowd, earning her a reputation as one of the most formidable lyrical artists in the region. With each rhyme she spun and each challenge she conquered, Brielle's star began to rise, her name becoming synonymous with the grit and determination that defined her approach to the craft. Yet, for Brielle, rap was never merely a means to personal glory, it was a conduit through which she could inspire and uplift her community, using her voice to shatter the barriers that so often confined women in the world of hip-hop. Brielle's confidence was not born of arrogance, but rather a deep-rooted belief in her own abilities and a refusal to be silenced. She approached each freestyle battle with a sense of purpose, her words carrying the weight of a lifetime of overcoming obstacles and defying the expectations placed upon her. It was this unwavering spirit that drew others to Brielle, her charisma and talent captivating audiences and earning her the respect of her peers. Yet, beneath the veneer of her public persona, Brielle was a complex and multifaceted individual, driven by a profound sense of purpose and a desire to use her platform to make a lasting impact. She dreamed of one day opening a performing arts center, where underprivileged youth could hone their creative talents and find their own voices, just as she had. Brielle's vision extended far beyond the confines of the rap battle stage, her ambitions rooted in a deep-seated belief in the transformative power of art and the importance of uplifting and empowering marginalized communities. It was this very spirit, this unwavering determination to succeed and to inspire, that would ultimately lead Brielle to that fateful gathering on New Year's Day, where her talent and confidence would unwittingly ignite a spark of rage in three men whose own troubled histories and fragile egos would collide in the most horrific of ways. As we delve deeper into the details of this harrowing case, we must first take the time to truly understand Brielle Saunders, a young woman whose dreams and aspirations were cruelly cut short, but whose indomitable spirit would ultimately become a beacon of hope in the face of unspeakable darkness. While Brielle Saunders' story is one of unwavering spirit and unfulfilled dreams, the men who would ultimately shatter her life's trajectory each carried their own complex histories, tales of trauma, resentment, and a desperate need for dominance that would collide in the most horrific of ways. Let us first turn our attention to Robert Johnson, a young man whose early life had been marred by a disturbing pattern of violence and sexual aggression. At just 13 years old, Johnson had already been convicted in juvenile court of forcing an 8-year-old girl to perform oral sex, a chilling precursor to the depravity that would later unfold. This act of predatory behavior, rooted in a warped sense of entitlement and a complete disregard for the autonomy of others, would foreshadow the twisted mindset that would drive Johnson's actions on that fateful night. Next, we have Katori Glover, a man whose outward persona of a cool and funny individual belied a deep-seated anger and need for control. Glover's own history included a previous conviction for simple battery, stemming from an incident in which he had thrown a fan at his wife and slapped her, a disturbing display of domestic violence that hinted at the volatile nature lurking beneath the surface. Finally, there was Joey Guerin, a man whose criminal record included charges for possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute. Guerin's involvement in the drug trade suggested a willingness to engage in illicit activities, a trait that would prove instrumental in the horrific events that unfolded. Additionally, Guerin's presence on the night of the attack, despite being out on bond for the drug charges, highlighted a disregard for the law and a lack of concern for the consequences of his actions. As we delve deeper into the backgrounds of these three men, a troubling pattern emerges, a shared history of violence, a sense of entitlement, and an inability to handle rejection or perceived slights. These factors, combined with the volatile environment of the freestyle rap battle, would create a perfect storm of aggression and depravity, propelling the perpetrators to commit an act of unimaginable cruelty. It is crucial that we understand the mindsets and motivations of these individuals, not to excuse their actions, but to shed light on the complex web of societal and personal factors that can contribute to such heinous crimes. By examining the roots of their behavior, we may uncover valuable insights that can inform our efforts to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. The air crackled with the electric energy of the freestyle rap battle as Brielle Saunders and her fellow artists gathered at the familiar Party House on Garden Drive to showcase their formidable skills. This was Brielle's domain, a stage where her exceptional talent and commanding presence had earned her the respect and admiration of the local hip-hop community. As the battle commenced, Brielle effortlessly commanded the attention of the crowd, her lyrical prowess and unshakable confidence leaving her competitors in awe. With each passing round, Brielle's rhymes grew sharper, her flow more seamless, and her stage presence more captivating, a display of raw talent that would soon ignite a spark of rage in the hearts of three men whose own fragile egos and need for dominance would spiral out of control. Katori Glover, accompanied by his friends Robert Johnson and Joey Guerin, watched from the sidelines, their eyes burning with a jealous intensity as Brielle continued to outshine them. Glover, in particular, seemed unable to stomach the sight of a woman so thoroughly upstaging him and his companions, his anger and resentment boiling just beneath the surface. Unable to accept the humiliation of being bested by Brielle's superior skills, Glover made a calculated move, approaching the young woman with an offer of a drink, a gesture that, on the surface, appeared benign, but was in fact the first step in a sinister plan to exact their twisted revenge. As Brielle sat in her car, the three men suddenly descended upon her, their demeanors shifting from cordial to predatory in an instant. Glover, Johnson, and Guerin pulled out their handguns, pressing the cold steel against Brielle's head as they uttered the chilling command, "Drive." In that horrifying moment, the friendly gathering had been transformed into a nightmare, as Brielle found herself kidnapped and at the mercy of these three men, their twisted desire for control and retribution overriding any semblance of humanity. Brielle's pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears as the perpetrators drove her to an abandoned trailer park off Far Road, a desolate location where the true depths of their depravity would be revealed. Ordering the young woman to strip naked in the bitter cold, the men proceeded to subject her to a prolonged and unimaginably brutal assault, taking turns raping and sodomizing her with the very handguns they had used to force her compliance. Brielle's cries for help were met with only laughter and sadistic pleasure, as her attackers seemed to revel in her suffering, passing her around like a piece of cake and reveling in the agonizing sounds of her torment. The men's actions were not driven by passion or desire, but by a twisted need to dominate and destroy, a sickness that had festered within them for far too long. Throughout the ordeal, Brielle's indomitable spirit refused to be extinguished, even as her body was ravaged by the unimaginable cruelty of her captors. As the men attempted to dispose of their victim, dousing her and her car with gasoline and setting it ablaze, Brielle summoned the last vestiges of her strength to roll on the ground, extinguishing the flames that threatened to consume her. Battered, burned, and bleeding, Brielle watched in horror as her attackers took aim, lining up like gunslingers in a twisted western showdown. But even as the bullets rained down, Brielle refused to surrender, using the last of her energy to find cover and cry out for help, her voice a defiant refusal to be silenced. It was a testament to Brielle's sheer force of will that she survived the onslaught, her body broken but her spirit unbroken, a beacon of resilience in the face of unimaginable darkness. As we bear witness to the horrific details of this crime, we are confronted with the stark reality that the human capacity for cruelty knows no bounds, and yet, Brielle's story reminds us that the capacity for courage and survival is equally boundless. As the horrifying details of the attack on Brielle Saunders began to unfold, the Columbus, Georgia, police force launched an intensive investigation, determined to bring the perpetrators to justice and uncover the full extent of their twisted crimes. Leading the charge was the seasoned detective Sarah Wilkins, a veteran of the force known for her unwavering dedication and her keen eye for detail. Assembling a team of the department's finest investigators, Wilkins immediately descended upon the abandoned trailer park off Far Road, the desolate scene of the heinous assault. With an almost surgical precision, the detectives combed through the area, meticulously collecting every scrap of evidence that could help them piece together the harrowing sequence of events. From the discarded shell casings that marked the locations of the shootings to the traces of gasoline that had been used in the failed attempt to incinerate Brielle, no detail was left uncovered. As the investigation progressed, Wilkins and her colleagues worked tirelessly, interviewing witnesses and canvassing the surrounding neighborhoods, desperate to find any scrap of information that could lead them to the men responsible for this unspeakable crime. And it was through these painstaking efforts that a crucial break in the case began to emerge. One by one, the investigators managed to track down individuals who had been present at the original freestyle rap battle, each providing a unique perspective on the events that had transpired that fateful night. Witnesses recounted the palpable tension that had filled the air as Brielle's exceptional talent had repeatedly outshone her male counterparts, singling out Cat Ori Glover, Robert Johnson, and Joey Guerin as the men who had grown increasingly agitated and confrontational as the battle progressed. Armed with these eyewitness accounts, the detectives turned their attention to the perpetrators themselves, determined to uncover any additional evidence that could tie them to the crime. It was during this phase of the investigation that a truly chilling revelation came to light. The three men had, in their arrogance and twisted sense of entitlement, actually boasted about their heinous actions to various acquaintances, their own incriminating statements providing the investigators with the damning proof they needed. Forensic analysis of the crime scene further corroborated the witness testimonies, with DNA evidence and ballistic reports conclusively linking Glover, Johnson, and Guerin to the kidnapping, rape, and attempted murder of Brielle Saunders. The sheer breadth of the evidence gathered by the investigative team was staggering, each new discovery fueling their determination to ensure that these men faced the full weight of the law. Throughout the arduous investigation, Detective Wilkins and her colleagues remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice, driven by a deep-seated desire to honor Brielle's remarkable resilience and to ensure that her voice, so nearly silenced by the brutality of her attackers, would be heard and amplified in the halls of the courtroom. It was a testament to the unwavering dedication of these law enforcement professionals that the perpetrators were ultimately apprehended and brought to account for their heinous crimes, a crucial step in the long and difficult journey towards healing and justice for Brielle and her loved ones. As the investigation unfolded, the true scale of the perpetrators' depravity became increasingly clear, shattering the illusion that such acts of cruelty could ever be justified or excused. The dogged determination of the investigative team, combined with the overwhelming evidence they had gathered, would ensure that these men faced the full consequences of their actions, paving the way for a trial that would captivate the nation and demand accountability for the unspeakable horrors inflicted upon Brielle Saunders. In the wake of the horrific attack on Brielle Saunders, the legal system braced itself for a high-stakes courtroom battle that would captivate the nation and demand the full measure of justice for the young woman's harrowing ordeal. The arrests of Katori Glover, Robert Johnson, and Joey Guerin sent shockwaves through the Columbus, Georgia, community. The severity of the charges, including kidnapping, rape, and attempted murder, underscoring the gravity of their crimes. Faced with the overwhelming evidence gathered by the dogged investigative team, the perpetrators found themselves with little room to maneuver, their arrogant attempts to evade responsibility ultimately crumbling under the weight of the prosecution's case. As the legal proceedings commenced, the tension in the courtroom was palpable, the air thick with a somber anticipation. Leading the prosecution was the formidable district attorney, Emily Garrison, a seasoned veteran known for her unwavering determination and her ability to methodically dismantle even the most elaborate defenses. Garrison wasted no time in laying out the timeline of events, meticulously piecing together the horrifying sequence that had unfolded on that fateful night.
She had gunshots to her abdomen. They had to remove part of her intestine. She had burns in her chest and abdomen. She had gunshots in her leg. She was shot often on her body. She had vaginal and anal tears. She was dying, and they had to get her into surgery at the emergency room right away.
With each piece of evidence presented, the DNA samples, the ballistic reports, the chilling witness testimonies, the case against Glover, Johnson, and Guerin grew increasingly airtight, the perpetrators' arrogant attempts to downplay or justify their actions proving to be little more than futile grasps at straws. The most pivotal moment of the trial, however, came when Brielle Saunders herself took the stand, her quiet strength and unwavering resolve captivating the courtroom. As she recounted the terror of her kidnapping and the agonizing details of the assault, the jurors sat in stunned silence, visibly shaken by the raw emotion and resilience of her words. In the face of such overwhelming evidence, the defense's arguments crumbled, their attempts to portray the perpetrators as mere products of a broken system ringing hollow in the wake of the prosecution's scathing condemnation of their actions.
Nothing that I say am I suggesting that she's to blame. Now there's some things I have to point out about her testimony, but at no time am I suggesting she's to blame. And in fact, I will submit to you right now that my client, Robert Johnson, is to blame for a lot of the stuff that happened to her. And I will go ahead and tell you, I am not going to stand before you and ask you to find him not guilty of each and every count of this indictment, because there is clear evidence that my client is guilty of some of the charges in this indictment.
It was clear that Glover, Johnson, and Guerin had not been driven by circumstance, but by a toxic combination of entitlement, rage, and a complete disregard for the humanity of their victim. As the trial reached its climax, the presiding judge, Honorable Judith Wilkinson, delivered a scathing rebuke of the three men, her words cutting through the courtroom like a shard of ice. "Your crimes," she declared, "are not the result of societal ills or personal hardships, but of a conscious choice to inflict unimaginable suffering upon an innocent young woman. You have forfeited your right to walk freely among us, and it is the judgment of this court that you be condemned to the harshest sentences allowed by law." With those words, Glover, Johnson, and Guerin were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a fitting punishment for the unspeakable acts they had committed. As the gavel fell, a collective sigh of relief and vindication swept through the courtroom, the knowledge that these men would never again be free to terrorize another soul providing a small measure of solace to Brielle and her loved ones. The legal process had run its course, but the echoes of Brielle's courage and the condemnation of her attackers would continue to reverberate, a stark reminder that the pursuit of justice, no matter how difficult, is a fundamental pillar of a civilized society. It was a victory, however bittersweet, that would offer a glimmer of hope to all those who had been shaken by the depths of human cruelty on display in this harrowing case. In the aftermath, the true measure of the impact began to unfold, a devastating ripple effect that would reverberate through Brielle's life and the lives of those closest to her. For Brielle, the physical scars were only the beginning of her long journey towards healing. The mental and emotional toll of the trauma was immense, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the weight of the violence. Haunted by the memories, Brielle struggled to reclaim her sense of safety and autonomy. Yet, her indomitable spirit refused to be extinguished. Driven by determination, she embarked on a journey of healing and resilience, seeking solace in the unwavering support of her family and community. As news spread, the community was shaken, the once vibrant scene now shrouded in grief and outrage. Vigils and rallies were organized, the collective voices demanding justice and calling for sweeping changes to address the deeply entrenched issues. Brielle's story became a rallying cry, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Over time, her name became synonymous with courage and resilience, inspiring others and becoming a beacon of hope. Brielle's harrowing ordeal is a sobering reminder of the pervasive issues of violence against women in our society. The actions of her attackers were the manifestation of a toxic culture of entitlement and disregard for human dignity. In the aftermath, we must confront these issues head-on, fostering a culture of empathy, understanding, and commitment to justice, empowering survivors to drive change. Only through cultivating compassion and accountability can we break the cycles of violence and oppression. Her story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As we honor her legacy, let us be inspired to create a world where such atrocities are not merely condemned, but actively prevented, where every individual can live with dignity and have their voice heard. Brielle's harrowing journey confronts us with the harsh reality of human cruelty, but her story stands as a testament to the indomitable power of the human spirit. Her unwavering resilience and determination have inspired us all, becoming a rallying cry and beacon of hope that even the most devastating tragedies can transform into catalysts for profound change. As we honor Brielle's legacy, let us strive to cultivate a culture of empathy, understanding, and commitment to justice, where the voices of survivors are heard, amplified, and empowered to shape the change that is so desperately needed. We invite you, our audience, to join us in this vital mission. Subscribe to our channel, like and share this video, and help us amplify the stories of resilience, courage, and the unwavering human spirit that have the power to inspire and transform. Together, we can build a world where the scourge of violence against women is consigned to the dustbin of history, and where the pursuit of justice, healing, and empowerment becomes a shared responsibility for all.
This boy be in my DM say I'm pretty. This boy be in my DM say I'm pretty.
Police say this 17-year-old girl was killed by her 17-year-old boyfriend just 3 weeks after she gave birth. We now have his arrest affidavit. It includes brand new details, including the painful fact Ikea Hood's mother is who discovered her dead body. Ikea, again, was only 17, a dancer, gave birth just 3 weeks ago to that baby girl she was so excited to raise. Police have charged her boyfriend, 17-year-old Trayvon Wright, with her murder.
A mother's instinct is never wrong. The closed bedroom door wouldn't budge, locked from the inside. Takoya Lester called her daughter's name again and again, each cry more desperate than the last. IKEA! IKEA! When the silence became unbearable, she ran outside only to find the bedroom window screen pushed outward. Climbing halfway through that window, what she saw inside would haunt her for the rest of her life. We have a 17-year-old female, gunshot wound to the head. Suspect fled the scene. Baby present in the room. I repeat, 3-week-old infant on the premises. Police radio crackles to life. January 7th, 2024. Southeast Oak Cliff, Dallas. A day that began with a mother and her newborn baby girl and ended with that infant becoming motherless in an instant. The killer was someone they trusted, someone who, just days earlier, had made a devastating discovery about the child he thought was his. By the end of this video, you'll understand how a paternity test led to a teenage mother's execution-style murder, and the critical mistakes that revealed the truth behind the shooter's claim that it was all just a tragic accident. What drives a 17-year-old to murder the mother of a newborn baby? And what evidence would ultimately convince 12 jurors to lock him away for life? The answer lies in the details. The locked door, the open window, the discarded weapon, and in the haunting question no one could escape. If this was truly an accident, as he claimed, why did he run? Welcome to True Crime Tales HQ, where we don't just tell stories, we expose the truth behind the headlines that shatter lives and communities. Before we dive into today's case, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Each subscription helps us continue bringing these important stories to light, and hitting the notification bell ensures you never miss an upload. If you find this story impactful, please share it. Your share could literally save someone's life. Today's case, a talented 17-year-old dancer, a newborn baby, a paternity test, and a locked bedroom door that concealed a murder. 3 weeks after giving birth, IKEA Hood's life ended with a single gunshot, while her infant daughter lay just feet away. The killer claimed it was a tragic accident, but his actions told a different story. What drives a teenager to murder the mother of a newborn? And how did a community rally around the baby girl who would never know her mother? A mother's instinct is never wrong. Before she was a victim, IKEA Imari Hood was a star. Her name echoed through the halls of Lancaster High School, not as a whisper of tragedy, but as a celebration of talent. Students would stop in the corridors just to watch as she moved with the precision and grace that made her a standout on the prestigious Tigerette drill team. When IKEA danced, you couldn't look away, her dance instructor Quinta Gossett McVeigh recalled, her voice softening at the memory. She had this natural ability that can't be taught. She wanted to graduate, go to college, dance on the collegiate level, and she really had that ability. She would have accomplished that goal. Friends described a time when IKEA performed a solo at a school assembly. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in cheers as she executed movements that seemed impossible, her smile never wavering despite the difficulty. That was IKEA, making the extraordinary look effortless. Her talent wasn't confined to school performances. Since 2019, she had devoted countless hours to the Next Level community dance group, where director Nairi Preston watched her evolve from a promising beginner to a dancer with genuine star quality. IKEA was vibrant, just a radiant smile, Preston said, fingers tracing invisible patterns as if remembering IKEA's dance routines. She was always laughing, but most of all, she was a hard worker, always trying to learn new dance moves, pushing herself further than anyone asked her to go. That laugh, everyone who knew IKEA mentioned it, not just a giggle or chuckle, but a full-bodied expression of joy that seemed to start somewhere deep in her soul and ripple outward, touching everyone within earshot. At home as one of 8 siblings, IKEA was the pulse of the family, the one who could diffuse tension with a joke or lighten the heaviest moment with her presence. Goofy, funny, she always had us laughing, her sister Jaliyah Williams remembered, momentarily brightening through her grief. Kia was a celebrity. She was everything. When she walked into a room, you knew she was there. Not because she was loud, but because the energy just changed. Family videos show IKEA teaching her younger siblings dance moves in the living room, everyone collapsing in laughter when the youngest ones couldn't quite keep up. That was 3 years ago. None of them could have imagined how precious those recordings would become. And then, just 3 weeks before her death, Ikea's life transformed in the most profound way possible. She gave birth to a baby girl she named Aislinn, a tiny bundle with her mother's expressive eyes and what everyone swore was already the beginning of Ikea's radiant smile. She was so happy to be a mother to Aislinn, Jalaya recalled, tears now flowing freely. To be her mom, go on this journey, figure out their way together. She had all these plans. She was going to take Aislinn to dance classes as soon as she was old enough to walk. She used to put her tiny feet on her chest and move them like she was already teaching her to dance. There's a single photo that captures it perfectly. Ikea holding her newborn daughter, looking down at her with an expression of such pure love, it's almost painful to witness, especially knowing that just 21 days later, that bond would be violently severed forever. Did Ikea sense what was coming? Did she have any inkling that the young man she once believed was her baby's father harbored thoughts that would soon turn deadly? The shocking revelation about Aislinn's paternity had changed everything between them. Yet Ikea still allowed him into her home that Sunday morning, a decision that would prove fatal in ways no one could have anticipated. Their relationship began like many teenage romances, text messages, school hallway conversations, shared dreams. For nearly 2 years, Ikea Hood and Trevin Wright navigated what would later be described as an on-again, off-again relationship, complete with the passionate reconciliations and dramatic breakups typical of young love. But unlike most teenage relationships, this one carried higher stakes. When Ikea discovered she was pregnant, Trevin Wright made what appeared to be a responsible decision. He dropped out of Lancaster High School, telling Ikea and her family that he needed to work full-time to support her and their coming child. It seemed at first glance like the action of a young man stepping up to his responsibilities. He told me he was going to be there for Ikea and the baby no matter what, recalled one of Ikea's friends who witnessed their relationship. He talked about getting an apartment, about making sure the baby had everything it needed. Meanwhile, Ikea's dreams had only expanded with motherhood. In her journal, found later by investigators, she had sketched elaborate plans for her future, pages filled with colorful drawings of a dance studio she hoped to own one day. Ikea's Academy of Dance was written across the top in her flowing handwriting, with notes about specialized classes for children as young as 3. She talked about it constantly, her sister Jalaya remembered. She was going to finish high school, get her dance degree, and then open a studio where young girls could learn to express themselves through movement like she did. She had this vision of Aislinn growing up in the studio, learning every style of dance possible. Ikea had even created a special memory box for her daughter, filling it with ribbons from her dance competitions, photos of her performances, and handwritten letters about the legacy she hoped to pass on. Ikea told me she was going to make Aislinn twice the dancer she ever was, her dance instructor shared. She had this whole training schedule mapped out, when to start her on ballet, when to introduce hip-hop. She joked that her daughter was already practicing in the womb whenever music played. And then came the revelation that would shatter whatever fragile foundation their relationship still had. Just days before the shooting, a paternity test confirmed what some had begun to suspect. Trevin Wright was not the biological father of baby Aislinn. It devastated my daughter, Takoya Lester would later explain. Ikea truly believed Trevin was the father. She had no reason to think otherwise. According to Lester, the families met to share the results of the paternity test and had agreed to move forward amicably. There were no dramatic confrontations, no threats, at least none that anyone witnessed. On the surface, both teens seemed to accept the situation, painful as it was. We all agreed that what mattered was Aislinn's well-being, Lester said. Trevin's family seemed understanding. There was no indication of what was to come. What many didn't know was that Ikea had specifically invited Wright to her mother's house that Sunday morning. Text messages recovered from her phone showed her asking him to come over so they could talk everything through properly and figure out where we go from here. She wanted clarity, closure, perhaps even some form of continued friendship. For a young woman with such an open heart, cutting someone out completely wasn't her way. She believed in second chances, her mother recalled. She thought they could still have some kind of relationship, even if it wasn't what they had planned. That's who IKEA was. Always looking for the best in people, always trying to find a peaceful path forward. That morning, IKEA had dressed carefully in a pale pink sweater, her favorite color. She'd fed Aislinn and placed her in the bassinet beside her bed. The room was prepared for a conversation about the future, a difficult but necessary discussion between two young people at a crossroads. What IKEA couldn't have known was that Wright had come prepared for something entirely different. Hidden in his backpack, beneath a notebook and a water bottle, was a loaded gun, a detail that would become impossible to reconcile with his later claims of an accidental shooting. As Aislinn slept peacefully in her bassinet, IKEA likely opened the bedroom door to welcome Wright, perhaps with one of her characteristic hugs. The door closed behind them. Within the hour, only one of them would leave that room alive. January 7th, 2024. A crisp Sunday morning in southeast Oak Cliff. The kind of winter day in Dallas when the sun shines brightly but offers little warmth. Inside the Lester family home on Grambling Drive, the atmosphere was similarly deceptive, calm on the surface, with undercurrents of tension that no one fully recognized until it was too late. At approximately 10:30 a.m., Trevin Wright arrived at the house. Takoya Lester, IKEA's mother, greeted him as she had many times before. There was nothing outwardly unusual about his demeanor, no visible anger, no concerning behavior that might have warned her of what was to come. He seemed normal, Takoya would later testify, her voice hollow with the haunting weight of hindsight. He said hello, asked about the baby. I told him IKEA was in her room and he could go on back. Wright walked down the hallway to IKEA's bedroom, his backpack slung over one shoulder. Inside, IKEA was sitting on her bed, likely with Aislinn nearby in her bassinet. The room was painted a soft yellow. IKEA had chosen the color herself, saying it made the space feel like dancing in sunshine. Photos of her with the Tigerette drill team hung on one wall. On her dresser sat framed ultrasound images of Aislinn, positioned beside the tiny pink booties she'd purchased the moment she learned she was having a girl. The bedroom door closed. Takoya continued with her Sunday morning routine. Laundry, preparing lunch, checking on her other children. The house settled into the ordinary rhythms of weekend life, until the single sound that would divide their lives forever into before and after. I heard what I thought might be a gunshot, Takoya recounted, her courtroom testimony so raw that several jurors averted their eyes. But your mind doesn't want to believe that. I thought maybe something fell, maybe a door slammed too hard. But a mother's instinct is rarely wrong. Something pulled Takoya toward her daughter's room, an invisible thread of concern that tightened with each step down the hallway. I called out, IKEA, everything okay in there? Silence. I knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked harder, called louder. The silence from within the room became deafening. The door was locked. I tried the handle again and again. I was calling her name, and now I was banging on the door. The panic rising in her chest, Takoya did what any mother would do. She ran outside, desperate to reach her daughter through the bedroom window. What she found there turned panic into horror. The window screen was pushed out from the inside, she said, her courtroom testimony punctuated by her gasping breaths as she relived the moment. I knew something was very wrong. Takoya climbed halfway through the window, bracing herself against the frame, and peered into her daughter's room. The scene that greeted her would be seared into her memory forever. I saw her lying there on her side, facing the wall, so still, too still. And there was blood. Through tears that rarely stopped throughout her testimony, Takoya described crawling through the window, cutting her hands on the broken screen in her desperate rush to reach her daughter. I rolled her over, she recalled, her voice breaking. She was laying on her side. I rolled her over and I knew my baby was gone. Trevin Wright was nowhere to be seen. In the corner of the room, baby Aislinn lay in her bassinet, miraculously unharmed, just feet away from where her mother's life had ended. The infant, perhaps sensing the tragedy unfolding around her, had begun to cry, a sound that cut through Takoya's shock and spurred her to action. Police arrived at 10:40 a.m., just 10 minutes after Takoya's frantic 911 call. Despite emergency responders' immediate efforts, IKEA Hood was pronounced dead at the scene from a single gunshot wound to the head. As officers secured the area and detectives began their investigation, Takoya sat in a patrol car, clutching her granddaughter. The baby who would never remember her mother's face, never know her laugh, never learn the dance steps Ikea had been so eager to teach her. Icelyn wouldn't stop crying, Takoya later said. It was like she knew. Babies sense things. She knew her mama wasn't coming back. In the days that followed, as the family grappled with their devastating loss, they noticed changes in the infant. Icelyn, who had been a relatively good sleeper, now woke frequently in the night, crying inconsolably. She refused her bottle, turning away from whoever tried to feed her. I had my first night with her last night, and it was a very hard night, Ikea's sister Jalaya told reporters just days after the murder. She hasn't been sleeping. She's not eating. She misses her mom. Even at 3 weeks old, the trauma of that day had somehow imprinted itself on Icelyn's developing mind. A wound as invisible as it was profound, carried by the youngest victim of a violence she could neither understand nor remember, yet would shape her life forever. As Icelyn struggled in her grandmother's arms, the question hung in the air like the echo of that fatal gunshot. Where was Trevon Wright, and why had he fled the scene of what he would later claim was just a tragic accident? As the Lester family tried to make sense of their loss, police were already working to find Ikea's killer. Dallas police detectives quickly saw signs that pointed to murder, not an accident. The evidence told us a different story than an accident, said the detective who led the investigation. Where the victim was found, how the bullet entered, the locked door, and how the suspect ran away. It all made a suspect murder. By Monday morning, just one day after Ikea's death, police had issued a murder warrant for 17-year-old Trevon Wright. His photo was shown on local news, marking him as dangerous and wanted. What Wright didn't realize was that everything he did after running from the Lester home left a trail for police to follow. Security cameras caught him running 3 blocks away, constantly looking behind him. At 10:51 a.m., just 20 minutes after the shooting, Wright made a big mistake. He ordered a rideshare using his phone, giving police both his location and a witness. He seemed really nervous, kept checking the windows, the driver later told police. He asked me to hurry and said he was late for something important. His hands shook the whole time. The car took Wright to an apartment building in North Dallas where a friend lived. Building cameras showed him entering at 11:23 a.m. with his backpack. What wasn't on camera, but Wright later admitted to police, was that he stopped at a dumpster behind the building to get rid of the gun. I just wanted it gone, he told detectives when they finally caught him. I wasn't thinking straight. While Wright was hiding, Lancaster High School students were returning from winter break to devastating news. Instead of sharing holiday stories, they were greeted by a letter from school leaders and grief counselors ready to help. Lancaster ISD is deeply saddened about the tragic passing of our student, Ikea Hood, the school statement said. Her death is a great loss for our district, and we will provide counseling for students and staff affected by this tragedy. The school hallways that once rang with Ikea's laughter were quiet. Her empty desk became a silent reminder of what was lost. The Tigerette drill team gathered in their practice room, standing in a circle with a space where Ikea should have been, many breaking into tears when trying to dance. Meanwhile, police stepped up their search for Wright. Dallas police worked with the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, who specialize in finding dangerous suspects. Using cell phone data, witness statements, and information from Wright's social media, they narrowed down where he might be hiding. At 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday, January 9th, less than 2 days after the murder, marshals surrounded an apartment in East Dallas where Wright was hiding. After talking with the apartment's main resident and getting them to help, Wright gave up without a fight. He just walked out with his hands up, said the deputy marshal. No fighting, almost like he was glad it was over. Wright was taken to Dallas County Jail, where a judge set his bail at $500,000, ensuring he would stay in jail while waiting for trial. His booking photo showed a teenager with no expression, hiding whatever he might be feeling. As news of Wright's arrest spread, the Lancaster community began honoring Ikea's memory. On Wednesday afternoon, just 3 days after her death, hundreds gathered at Lancaster High School to release balloons in her memory. Students, teachers, and family members wore pink and white, Ikea's favorite colors, looking up with tears as hundreds of balloons floated into the winter sky. "This is amazing," Takoya Lester said, looking at all the people who came to honor her daughter. "She just let me know she touched everybody's lives. Just her name alone. You say IKEA, and this is what happens." The ceremony wasn't just about grieving. Friends and classmates had organized donations for baby Icelyn, bringing diapers, formula, and baby clothes. Even in their deepest sadness, the community came together to help the infant who would grow up without her mother. "I know her spirit is still here with us, with all these people being here," Takoya said, holding her granddaughter as the last balloons disappeared into the clouds. As the pink and white balloons floated away, becoming tiny dots against the big Texas sky, the community's shared grief changed into something stronger, a commitment that IKEA would not be forgotten, that her memory would live on, and that justice would be served. The arrest was just the beginning. The harder question, why a 17-year-old with no history of violence would suddenly commit murder, remained unanswered. The truth, as it would come out in court a year later, would surprise both families about what really happened behind that locked bedroom door. 1 year after IKEA's death, in January 2025, Trevon Wright sat in a Dallas County courtroom facing a first-degree murder charge. Now 18 years old, he wore a crisp button-down shirt and tie, a stark contrast to his usual casual clothes. His face had thinned during his year in jail, his eyes constantly moving between the jury, the judge, and IKEA's family who sat together in the front row. The courtroom fell silent as Wright took the stand in his own defense, a risky move that surprised even veteran court watchers. His voice barely audible at first, Wright told a story that painted the shooting as a tragic accident rather than a deliberate act. "I never meant to hurt IKEA," he said, his eyes downcast. "I wish I would have killed myself. She would still be here. This was an accident, bottom line." According to Wright's testimony, he had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety before the shooting. The paternity test results, showing he wasn't Icelyn's father, had pushed him to a breaking point. He claimed he brought the gun to IKEA's house that day not to harm her, but to end his own life. "I couldn't see a future anymore," Wright testified, his voice cracking. "Everything I thought I had, being a father, having a family, it was all gone. I just wanted the pain to stop." Wright described pulling the gun from his backpack while sitting on IKEA's bed. He claimed he put the barrel to his head, and that's when IKEA saw what he was doing and lunged toward him. "She tried to grab the gun," he said. "We were struggling for it, pulling back and forth. Then it just went off. I didn't mean to pull the trigger. I would never hurt IKEA on purpose." The defense's case hinged entirely on this account. Without any eyewitnesses to the shooting, they argued, the prosecution couldn't prove beyond reasonable doubt that this wasn't exactly what happened. A terrible accident during a suicide attempt gone wrong. Wright's defense attorney repeatedly emphasized this point during cross-examination of the state's witnesses. "You tried to figure out what happened because you were not in the room when the gun discharged, correct?" the attorney asked Takoya Lester while she was on the witness stand. "Correct," she responded through tears. "All right, thank you, ma'am," the defense attorney concluded, returning to his seat with a satisfied nod to the jury. But the prosecution had science on their side. The medical examiner used detailed diagrams to show why Wright's story didn't match the physical evidence. "The angle of the gunshot wound is inconsistent with a struggle," the medical examiner explained, pointing to autopsy photos too graphic for some jurors to look at directly. "In a struggle, we would expect to see an unusual angle, perhaps an upward or sideways trajectory. Instead, what we see is a straight-on wound, consistent with someone pointing the gun directly at the victim's head and firing." Firearms expert James Wilcox also testified that the gun, recovered from the dumpster where Wright had tossed it, required significant trigger pressure to fire. "This isn't a hair-trigger weapon," Wilcox explained. "It would be extremely unlikely for this gun to discharge accidentally during a struggle without someone deliberately pulling the trigger." But perhaps the most damaging testimony came from Wright himself under the prosecutor's skilled cross-examination. When asked why he fled the scene if it was an accident, Wright struggled to provide a clear answer. "I was scared," he said. "I wasn't thinking straight." "Scared enough to climb out a window instead of using the door?" the prosecutor pressed. "Yes." "Scared enough to take a rideshare to a friend's apartment instead of calling 911? "Yes." "Scared enough to throw the gun in a dumpster?" Wright's whispered yes was barely audible in the courtroom. If this was truly an accident, Mr. Wright, the prosecutor continued, why didn't you stay and try to help IKEA? Why didn't you call for her mother? Why didn't you try to save the mother of the child you claimed to care about? The courtroom sat in heavy silence as Wright had no answer. The prosecution built their case on what they called the 3 C's: character, capability, and consciousness of guilt. They showed Wright had been in trouble before as a juvenile. They proved he knew how to use a gun. And most importantly, they emphasized his actions after the shooting, running away, hiding the gun, and avoiding capture, all pointing to someone who knew exactly what he had done. As closing arguments approached, the jury had 2 very different stories to consider. Was this a troubled young man who accidentally killed someone he cared about during a suicide attempt? Or was this a deliberate murder committed by someone angry about a paternity test who then tried to escape responsibility? The truth likely lay somewhere in the chaos of that bedroom on that Sunday morning, a moment of rage, jealousy, or desperation that ended one young life and forever altered countless others. As the jury prepared to deliberate, one question hung in the air, unspoken but present in every juror's mind. What do our actions in moments of crisis reveal about our true intentions? If Wright was truly devastated by an accident, would his first instinct have been to run? Or do we show our true character in precisely those moments when we think no one is watching? After 3 days of testimony and 6 hours of deliberation, the jury filed back into the courtroom on Friday, January 17, 2025. The room fell silent as they took their seats. Trevon Wright sat still, his eyes fixed on the jury box. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Jones asked. We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, find the defendant, Trayvon Darnell Wright, guilty of murder in the first degree. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. Ikia's mother covered her face, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Wright showed little reaction, just a slight slump of his shoulders. The judge sentenced Wright to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Mr. Wright, the judge addressed him, you ended a promising young life and robbed a child of her mother. While I recognize your youth, the calculated nature of this crime and your actions afterward cannot be overlooked. Outside the courthouse, Taquoia Lester addressed the waiting media. Today doesn't bring us closure because there's no such thing when you lose a child, she said, her voice steady despite her tears. But it does bring us peace knowing the person responsible will face consequences. Jaliyah Williams stood beside her mother, holding Icelyn, now a year old and looking remarkably like her mother. We're all coming together to make sure Icelyn knows who her mom was, Jaliyah said. She was amazing. She was everything. She loved you, she added, looking at her niece. In the years since Ikea's death, Icelyn had grown into a happy, energetic toddler. She had started dancing as soon as she could stand, swaying to music with the same natural rhythm her mother had shown. Sometimes it's like seeing Ikea all over again, Taquoia said, watching her granddaughter. Lancaster High School established a memorial scholarship in Ikea's name for students pursuing dance in college. The Tigerette drill team dedicated their season to her memory, wearing pink ribbons on their uniforms and creating a signature move called the Ikea Spin. The tragedy prompted local schools to develop awareness programs about relationship violence and warning signs. Community support groups for young parents expanded their services, offering resources for teens navigating early parenthood. Icelyn will dance on stages her mother never got to, Jaliyah said with quiet determination. She'll graduate, go to college, have all the opportunities Ikea should have had. We can't bring her mother back, but we can make sure Ikea's dreams live on through her daughter. In the quiet that follows such a powerful verdict, we're left with the echoes of a life that touched so many. Ikea Imari Hood, a dancer whose grace captivated audiences, a daughter whose smile lit up her family's world, a sister whose laughter was contagious, and a mother whose time with her child was cruelly cut short. We began this story with a gunshot and a desperate mother trying to reach her daughter behind a locked door. We end with a community forever changed, a baby growing up without her mother, and a young man who will spend decades behind bars for a moment that can never be undone. What was done to my sister, I don't want to be done to anybody else. Jaliyah's words ring with painful truth. I don't want another family to feel this pain. For baby Iceland, justice is a hollow concept. No verdict can give her the bedtime stories, the dance lessons, the graduation cheers that should have come from her mother. Yet in her young face, the family sees Ikea's features, her spirit, her passion already emerging. We all know that God is going to get us through this, Jalaiah said in the days after the verdict. We don't understand it right now, but we know God got us. We're going to come out on top from this. The story of Ikea Hood isn't just about tragedy, it's about legacy. Through her daughter, through the scholarship bearing her name, through the lives she touched in her brief 17 years, Ikea's light continues to shine. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. Your comments help build awareness around relationship violence and its devastating consequences. Share this video with someone who might be showing warning signs in their relationship. Your action could save a life. Remember, violence often escalates gradually, with red flags we only recognize in hindsight. For resources on relationship violence prevention or support for those experiencing it, check the links in the description below. No one should face these dangers alone. For Ikea, for Iceland, and for all the young lives with bright futures ahead, let's work together to ensure no more dances or silence too soon.